Hey, sixth graders. It is May 6th. Welcome to today's math lesson. Today, we're focused on evaluating expressions using substitution. So we're still building on our skills of evaluating exponents. We're still building on our skills of evaluating expressions with exponents in them. And we're just moving on into this area of substitution. So that's what we're going to focus on in our guided practice today is how substitution is used in sixth grade math. Today, it is still important that we know the order of operations. We're still going to be using them. The focus is not on this, though. The focus is on substituting. So if you're still a little bit stuck on order of operations, there are a ton of great resources online. And also, please stop by the office hours with Mr. Zamora to get some extra help. Okay, substitution is just plugging in a value. That's all it is. You've heard the word substitute. If you've had a substitute teacher before, it's a teacher that takes the place of your normal teacher in a typical class. Substitution in algebra has a really similar meaning. In algebra, substitute means replace the variable with a value. And the value of the variable is given to you, which is nice. So looking at this question, 2x squared plus 3y plus 6 if x equals 2 and y equals 9. So we're going to take the value of those two variables and replace the variable with that number. All right, so the first step then is to rewrite the expression as it's given, but instead of x, let's write 2, and instead of y, let's write 9. Excellent. One thing that I want to point out to you is that 2x squared became 2 parentheses 2 close parentheses squared plus 3 times 9 plus 6. I point this out because it's important now, once we've substituted, to think about the order of operations, okay? The substitution part, I would just look out. The common mistake here is to swap the x and the y values. So if you accidentally put 9 for x and 2 for y, that's swapping them, so just look out for that. Thinking about my order of operations, I do have parentheses in here, but there's no operation inside of them. These parentheses are just showing that it's being multiplied to the number that's next to it. So those parentheses actually don't count as grouping symbols because they're not grouping any kind of operation together. If I had parenthesis 3 plus 2, then yes, that's grouping symbols. But I just have the number inside, so no grouping symbols here to worry about. I do have an exponent. This exponent does only apply to the number immediately next to it. So the 2 in parentheses here is being squared. I'm not going to multiply and then do the exponent. I'm just going to do the exponent first. So that's the very first thing. And there's only one exponent. So we're going to go ahead and simplify 2 squared. What is 2 squared? Yes, 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So you'll notice on my next line of work, perfect. There we go. On my next line of work, that 2 squared became 4. It's still in parentheses here only to show multiplication. You could also drop the parentheses and use a multiplication dot, right? But I still have my 2 squared became 4. Also, the multiplication was done on this step. As we're starting out, you can help yourself not make a mistake by actually only doing one step at a time. But this multiplication, it doesn't hurt to do it on this step too. 3 times 9 is 27 plus 6. On this line of work, I have multiplication, addition, and addition. So I'm going to go ahead and do multiplication next. Let me get rid of that. 2 times 4 is 8. And now I only have addition. I can add left to right. I get 41. So big things to look out for. Sometimes you have 2 different values for 2 different variables. If there is the same variable multiple times in your expression, it has the same value every time. So if I had another x here, then it also would have a value of 2. If I had a z, it might have a different value, right? Also look out for exponents. Remember that exponent is only applied to the number that's right next to it in those parentheses. Okay, let's do one. This is guided practice question number 1. We are looking for a mistake. So it says Mary evaluates the expression 5a minus 4b when a equals 5 and b equals 6. Her work is shown below. There's her work. Mary gets the wrong answer. In which line does her mistake appear? Okay, take 1 minute to figure it out. Go. Whoa, excuse me. We're about halfway through our time. One thing you can do is try to evaluate yourself and then compare each step to what Mary did. All right, there is our time. Go ahead and take a look at my thinking. I started to evaluate this myself, and I found the mistake right away. I wrote the original expression and I wrote the value of the two variables. If I hadn't done this step, I might not have caught the mistake. So this is an important one to keep in mind. I know that the value of A is 5 and the value of B is 6. So I use substitution to rewrite the expression with those values. When I look at this line of work in Mary's work, I notice that actually she swapped the value of the variable. Come on, little guy. Oh, too small. So her work here says 5 times 6 minus 4 times 5. But actually, it should say 5 times 5 minus 4 times 6. Right? So her mistake appeared in line 2. So I'm going to go ahead and select answer choice A. Line 2 is incorrect. Okay. In your Google form for question 1, go ahead and select A. Awesome. Let's move on to question 2. Given x equals 2, please evaluate the expression 12x minus 2 plus 3x. Make sure your work is on your paper. Go ahead. We're about halfway through our time. Make sure you're doing one step at a time. It's going to give you the highest quality work, and it's going to help you slow down and catch any mistakes that you might have made. If you finish early, go ahead and triple check your work. See if we can get that star on your paper for question number 2, meaning you got it right on your own. All right. Let's take a look at question number 2. All right, first step, please rewrite the expression on your paper and write the value of the variable you're using. I went ahead and substituted 2 for x here and here. Remember, if it's the same variable within this problem, it has the same value every time. Then I'm just simplifying using order of operations. This is all the same as yesterday. Just a reminder to do one step at a time. I get a final value of 28. Please put a big star on your paper next to that one if you got it right on your own. Really excellent work. We are going to enter the answer 28 in our Google form. So for question number 2, please just write 28. Let's do question 3. All right, let's read it together. Irina currently exercises 135 minutes each week. She is planning to increase that by 15 minutes every week from now on. The expression 15W plus 135 can be used to find the number of minutes she will exercise during each successive week. Successive means next. Based on the expression, how many minutes will Irina exercise when W equals 20? Awesome. I'm already given the expression that represents the story, and I'm given the value of the variable. It's asking me how many minutes will she exercise when W equals 20. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute and evaluate. You got 1 minute. Go. We are about halfway through our time. Make sure you're showing that really excellent work. I have 4 lines of work on my paper. All right. My answer was 435 minutes. Put a star on your paper if you got it. My 4 lines of work were rewrite the expression from the question, substitute, multiply, add. Okay. A couple of things to keep in mind before your independent practice today. Just a reminder, some of the expressions that we did in our guided practice did not have exponents, but remember that those happen before you evaluate multiplication. So that's something to look out for during your independent practice today, okay? We made it to our question of the day. Your question of the day today, I just want you to enter the answer for guided practice question number 3. Guided practice question number 3, we got 435 minutes. So please enter 435 or 435 minutes, if you spell it correctly, into your Google form for the question of the day. Excellent. Couple of things. You have your independent practice today. Again, look out for exponents. Your skill builder today is plotting points on the coordinate plane to continue our practice from Unit 7. The link for office hours is here, as well as in the assignment. Please go see Mr. Zamora at office hours today to complete the assignment together, to chat while you're working on the assignment, or to ask a question if you have it. Miss you guys. Have a really excellent rest of your day, and I'll see you here tomorrow. Bye.